And we're back. Welcome to the Second Cut podcast, a new era of podcasting for us. This is your Masters Mega Preview Pod. It's storylines, it's our best bets, and it's the future of what is going to happen here. Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Hey, boys, great to see you. I don't even know if my excitement is because it's about to be Masters Week, or it could be already, or if the band is back together, man. This is so good to see you guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Greg DuCharme is here. Greg, I think that if it were up to me, we would have just rolled with this starting next week with, 3 episodes and whatnot. But I think it was like, listen, we got to do something for the Masters.
We need something for the Masters. And I think it's really important to point out that all of you who are watching, all of you who have supported us on social media and through all of our platforms, really put a lot of pressure on us to get this thing started. And I mean that in the best way possible, because it really changed, at least for me, it changed my whole perspective on everything that's led to this episode, what we're doing right now. So we can't wait to get started. We couldn't pass up Masters, and it's all really thanks to those of you who are watching.
Yeah, so let's get on the same page about what's happening here. First and foremost, Mark Immelman is in the middle of a tornado watch, and I believe we have just lost him. So if we can get him back, we will do just that. But he is obviously, the safety is more important. He told us about an hour ago they lost power, so they might have just lost power again, Greg.
Well, hopefully it's first of all safe.
I know. I said, we don't need to fight a tornado to be on this podcast.
But I don't think a tornado has anything on Mark Immelman. He'll get this solved, and he'll be back in here eventually. But at least we know he's real. We know he's here. He's part of the team. What a circumstance.
Yeah, he's wearing his Masters pajamas. He's ready to rock and roll. If we can get him back, we will get him back. But let's just kind of lay the foundation here a bit, Greg, because I think you are right in the sense that we couldn't not do this, right? I mean the support for the last 6 years has been relentless, and for the last 6 weeks has been even more so. And we said, you know what? Let's do it. We must.
Yeah, I didn't always understand how much, I knew that we had fans and people really liked our show and they enjoyed our analysis. And that's why we did this every week and worked as hard and as often as we did. But over the last 6 weeks, like you said, I realized how, big of a part this has been in people's lives. The daily listeners, the people who have listened to every episode that we've done for 5 years. Right. I didn't know that those people were out there and felt as strongly as they did about the work we do. And look, at the end of the day, this is what we were going to be doing anyway, in some capacity. We were going to be looking for other work just like this to be doing. So why not do it together and meet the best of both worlds and have a great time doing it?
Yeah, so that's the plan. Now, to answer a couple of questions, yes, this will be available wherever you get your podcast, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. It is a brand new feed. It is the Second Cut. It is linked in the description. All of the links that you need are in the description. Yes, you can still make fun of Kyle. I have been in touch with Kyle. We will probably get him on the show at some point as long as things align. And we are going to start our Tuesday, Friday, Sunday episodes next week. So that's the Mega Preview Pod, the Halfway Point, the tournament recap. That feels like the natural jumping off point for us. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me? We got some biblical storms here in Georgia right now, so we're on the way. Power was knocked out for a second, but we're coming back. So give me a minute.
No worries. Do your thing. We'll ride with you here. So do us a favor. Hit subscribe to the channel. If you are watching this on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel right now, it is a simulcast. Not every episode will be on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel. You do want to subscribe to the Second Cut podcast. We have launched a Patreon, though I want to be very clear about this. It is completely optional, right? We've got some swag here. You do not need to support this podcast financially. We will figure this out. But if you want to support it, we've got some cool perks for you. Like there's an opportunity for Greg or Mark to break down your golf swing. There's an opportunity for you to get access to this merch right here. You'll play in the games that we play. So we have that. The link is in the description. But again, we'll figure something out to pay the bills here. That is just if you want to be a part of this journey on an even bigger note. Mark, why don't you kind of, before we reset here and talk about the Masters, Greg and I were just talking about how the support drove us to do this. And I think that you finally broke the ice. I think we knew we needed to do something. And then we finally got a text from Mark that was like, let's just do it.
Yeah, when we were saying our farewells to the first cut that evening, I was listening to you guys and I was watching some of the folks in the comments, and I was like, this is just too good to can. And so I started thinking about it, and it was sort of in the back of my mind for a little bit. And then after a while, I'm like, gosh, if you've got all these shows doing content, and then I'm seeing on social, our fans were so cool and so loyal. I know you guys were getting some messages. I was, and then I got a few folks on one other golf course, wherever I was, they were talking about, are you guys going to be back? What's going on? And then, listen, let's get the band together. And thankfully you all on board, because, I know you're all superstars now with the various industries that you're in. So yeah, I'm just jacked. I feel like there's a cool space in golf for us. I feel like we do something a little differently to everybody else, and so we walk a cool line in a sweet niche. And so getting back together seemed like a no-brainer to me.
Well, gentlemen, let's get to work here. The 89th Masters tournament will be played in Augusta, Georgia next week. We've got travel plans and an opportunity to get there. Mark will be on the call for, I'm assuming, Amen Corner. Mark, is that correct?
That is correct. I'm heading up first thing Tuesday morning. My daughter's supposed to have a golf tournament tomorrow afternoon, but judging by the weather, I don't know. I got to tell you, weather in Georgia has been perfect for the Masters. I mean, absolutely perfect. The azaleas are blooming right now, so the timing, ordinarily the timing doesn't work out. But then we get this weather forecast, and it's coming through here right now. It's, like I say, biblical. So yeah, maybe my daughter plays golf tomorrow afternoon, maybe not, but I will be there Tuesday morning.
Beautiful. And Greg, the weather Monday forecast not looking great. The storms that Mark is referring to right now, but the storm in the fall, Hurricane Helene, did some damage to Augusta National. Looking back at the results of that, there are trees that are down, so you're getting some different sight lines. There have been 4 greens that have been replaced either by the natural schedule of Augusta National, or I believe 16 was replaced because of damage from the storm. So it might look a touch different this time around.
Yes, 16 in particular is the most notable. Those greens, I remember when Hurricane Helene, it was, I believe, just went through, there were pictures where you could see trees lying on the green on number 16. And this is, Mark uses the word biblical. This hole is a biblical sight to be seen. I mean, it is perfect. And to see trees laying across that is devastating. And they had to redo the entire green. Now, from everything that I've heard from the players who have, made their trips up there and played practice rounds, including Rory McIlroy and a couple others, the green has been completely redone, but it is not changed at all. You may notice some missing trees. It seems like there's also some missing trees on number 6, but it's interesting that those are both par 3s. And maybe that's the other biblical aspect of things that happen at Augusta National, where it's disappointing that we lost some trees and there was some damage, but it seems like it's minimal effect to the way the golf course will play. Especially you're talking about trees falling on par 3s.
I tell you what, boys, I've been fortunate to go to this event for many, many years and go to the golf course during non-tournament time too. And in non-tournament time, the support staff, the crew they got working on the golf course is gigantic. And then during tournament time, which is crazy. Each hole has their crew that works the hole, and then there's an emergency response crew as well. So that's why you can have, you speak of 16, right, and and that storm Helene that went through there and its damage. Remember just a couple of years ago, I think it was, where during play, all of a sudden that pine went down. And everything was fixed up in a matter of hours. I mean, play was suspended for a bit, and then the next thing we were back at it. And the following morning, the remnants of said tree were gone. And it's incredible what they do there. It's incredible the respect that they have for just the tradition of the golf course, and making it such a memorable experience for fans. It's safe and it's memorable too. So I'm sure here after these storms rumble through, because unless things have changed, we're supposed to be fairly dry and cool for the rest of the week. The only thing for me is you look ahead to the week. We've had so much rain in the last couple hours and tornadoes and stuff that I feel like the ground is almost saturated outside here where we are, and it's on the way to across the state. So it's going to change the way the golf course plays, sadly, but still, it's the changes for folks who watch this tournament closely. I think you'll barely notice the changes. If changes are ever made to greens and stuff like that, they're so subtle, so fine, that you've got to have pictures that you've got to set down next to each other to actually notice the changes. That's how stuff looks like it's been there forever. So it's cool and it's hard to describe.
Yeah, the constant subtle changes seem to be the recipe around Augusta National. The big storylines are historic, Greg, and I'm referring to both Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy out of the gate here. Rory, again, I'm not sure if you've heard this before, is going for the career Grand Slam. 5 golfers have ever done it. Greg, would you like to take a crack at those 5?
Oh, sure. Now, I was thinking about this earlier, this exact list, and one of them I know is not on the list that will bother Mark. Okay, I'm just going to put this out here.
I know that one too. Yeah.
Yes.
So let me be clear. Greg is good. This is the modern Grand Slam.
Yes.
Oh no! What are we even doing? What are you guys up to? Something that I didn't know?
No.
We're up to nothing. This was decided before we were born.
Yes. This is just going to bother you, Mark. You wait, you'll see. Right. Tiger, Jack. We have Gene Sarazen. We have Gary Player. And we have
the Hawk. Come on.
Oh, yeah, of course. 1953. Almost did it in 1 year. Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan. The man who's missing from that list is Bobby Jones, is what he was referring to, Mark. He won the original Slam when the U.S. Amateur was a major.
Okay, but here's the thing, gents. If you can only win that you get to which you get to play in, right? So if you win the US Open and the British Open or the Open, if you win the US Am and the amateur tournament, you've won the 4 major events. So you've completed the career Grand Slam. So the impregnable quadrilateral, as Mr. Jones used to call it.
Yeah, well, I agree. Wikipedia, disagrees a little bit. So we've got Rory going for the career Grand Slam, trying to be the 6th to do it in modern history. Scottie Scheffler would become just the 4th golfer to ever go back-to-back. If he were to win it, he would add his name to a very short list of 3-time Masters champions, that he would become the 9th one. So, Greg, the top of this board has a chance to be, again, very historic here.
Yes, and I think looking at these 2 players, especially Rory coming in form-wise, makes it very compelling. You look at what Scottie Scheffler has done, and while it has been a slower start to the year than we expected, a slower start to the year than certainly last year, a slower start to the year in 2022 when he won the Players. It's been a little slow.
And a slower start than you were hoping for in our preview show.
A slower start than I expected. Yes. And look, everything is still on the table. I will say that. All right. But we're looking at a tied 2nd and a tied 3rd being his best finishes. His worst finish is a tied 25th. So things are still looking very good for Scottie Scheffler. If you look at the advanced metrics, they're good in pretty much every category. So things are, I mean, he gained 7 strokes putting in Houston in his last start. He came in tied for second. So things are looking very good for Scottie. And the way he plays this golf course is, I don't know if you can beat it. The question for Scottie will be, can he execute the way that he has the last couple of years, including 2023 when he was first tee to green, last in putting. That his execution that week tee to green was flawless as well.
You know, well, we saw when I was on course in the West Coast, we saw Scottie come back, and you could see rust. You know, the golf term, kind of like all the pundits use. Well, he was rusty, and no one ever really quantifies stuff. But to me, rusty is if you've got a shot that you ordinarily go to that it's not there, you know, and then your body just feels differently for whatever reason it is. But as I've watched it play, and over the little stretch here recently where I was with PGA Tour Live on ESPN Plus, they were all big events that Scottie was in the field. So naturally he was in a marquee group or a featured group or whatever. So we saw all of the shots. And each time I've watched him play, now through Houston, because I was on the call down there, it's like the left shot that was the bugaboo, off the tee especially, is beginning to go away. And that 62 he put together at Houston, that was vintage Scottie there, because not only was it hit close and making putts, the ball was missed on the smart side of the target. There was never stress played or undue stress put on the holes, even though he might have been out of position. And to me, if he can continue along in that vein, which I expect he will, because the one thing about Augusta National is that everyone thinks you got to draw the ball around there for the right-hander. I contend that you just mustn't miss it left. Like if your miss goes left, you're in trouble there. And that's been a problem for Rory. You look at holes like 2, 3, 5, it's disastrous if you left. 7, 9 is not good. 10's not good. If you ask Rory, 10's not good down the left either. 11's not good. 13's not good. So left is bad. And if Scottie's got that cut shot working, if he's found the range on the greens, he's certainly going to be effective. I would bet my bottom dollar on it. But he is trending in the right direction from everything I've seen.
I missed Mark, man, doing that. Just letting him run after it, just letting him get out and sprint for 2 minutes. I just missed that. Yes. All right. Let's talk about form. Let's talk about Rory McIlroy's form. He is objectively entering the Masters in the best form that he's ever had. He's got 2 wins on American soil already, Greg. He has this demon that hangs over his head around this golf course. It'll be his 17th trip to Augusta National.
Did Sergio Garcia win his 17th start?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was 15. 17, Mark?
I believe I saw a list where it was the 17th. And you know why? Because then my daughter came to me and she goes, "Hey, by the way, did you see that Sergio thing? And it's Rory's 17th start as well." And I was like, "Let's go, girl."
then I believe it was 17. There we go.
Yeah. So you know, it's happened before. Now, it's never happened for someone to complete the career Grand Slam. You know, this is something that I think has made this extremely challenging for Rory. Everybody who has won the career Grand Slam has done it in their 3rd try or less. You know, right. So this last leg hasn't lingered for very long for any of them. And I mean, you could argue for some it wasn't even really a popular like Gene Sarazen, it was probably closer to a quadrilateral than a Grand Slam when he accomplished it, because it was really Arnold Palmer in 1960 who coined that term. But since then, the weight of winning all 4 majors has only grown, and for Rory McIlroy, it's grown every single year, and you can kind of see it in the performance. And I have something has changed this year. I will say, I for a long time thought it didn't matter what Rory did heading into the Masters. It was just different when he gets there. You know, he wins the Tour Championship and people want to go bet him for the Masters. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's different when he gets there. But I have noticed this year, especially in his win at the Players Championship, a noticeable difference in his iron play. He has more shots. And I think he's more, I think he has a stronger ability to hit distances, specific distances. I think he has an ability to handle more conditions. Rory McIlroy has absolutely improved his game. And that could go a long way here at this kind of golf course this year.
Is he still evolving, Mark? Please.
You know what? I saw that 64 he shot at Pebble on Saturday in those horrible conditions. And just about every shot Rory hits was off speed. He told me in the end, except for the driver, naturally, that thing was ripped. He goes, no, I'm just hitting chippy iron shots. And I joked, I said to him, I'm like, you should do this all the time. Because when he flighted the ball down and he wasn't going full bore, not only did the wedge play improved, you talk about distance control, Greg, he hit the number every single time. And when you hit the ball hole high, naturally the proximity begins to improve. And so he becomes a birdie-making machine. And so then I saw he and Harry final round at the Genesis Invitationals Tigers event. And I'm on the range chatting with him. And so I said to Rory, I'm like, so how's it going? And he goes, it's against my natural impulse. This is hitting the soft shot and the non-aggressive shot, the more onto the safe side of the flag, a la Scottie. And he goes, it's against my natural impulse, but I'm sticking to it. So I laughed and I looked at Harry. I'm like, how long have you been asking him to do this? And he goes, probably the last 10 years. And we all laughed about it. And I'm like, well, long may this continue. Anyway, he didn't play so well there. Then we go to the Players' Championship. And I saw Rory win an event playing terribly. It was nowhere close to what he was capable of playing, but he still found a way to manage his way around the golf course. And then he played really well. I think there was the 60-70 he put together in round one was kind of scrappy. Then he drove the ball better. And there was this in and out. And so to me now, Greg, it's the fact that here's McIlroy, because he's playing smarter, he's flattening the ball more, he's going flat out when he can, not all the time. It's like when he doesn't have his A game, then he can still find a way to win. Very much like a Tiger Woods. And that's what Scottie does. Scottie will play around his bad round and not ruin himself too much. Where Rory at this very event, how many times, think about it, Thursday morning, he's 3 over after 5 or something like that.
Right.
He's playing his buns off and shoots like 73. And then he's firing and playing too aggressively and then shoots himself in the foot. Rory, now that I've watched play here recently, he can hit it all over the joint and still chip and putt and save pars and stay relevant. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying this is Rory Woods or Tiger McIlroy or whatever it is, but he's playing. And this is why I feel like this is the year, because he can get by his bad day with limited damage.
This is the year for Rory McIlroy.
There you go.
I've heard. I hope so. I think it might be too. Listen, Scottie and Rory are historically short. To have two golfers on the top of the betting board at those numbers is something that we have not seen since Tiger and X. Tiger would be like 2-1, and then Phil would be like 6-1, and everybody else would be way behind. That next group of contenders, Greg, that's your Xander Schauffele, your Colin Morikawa, your Ludwig Oberg, your John Rahm, et cetera, et cetera. These guys aren't going to just let Scottie and Rory waltz into the final group on Sunday.
No, and they have a strong pedigree at this championship. In the case of John Rahm, he's won it. Xander Schauffele is our most recent major champion. And, Xander's someone really interesting to keep an eye on because, one, his major championship record in general, even before his 2 wins, is stout. And he's, like Scottie, come back with a little bit of rust. But he did something incredible at the Valspar Championship. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. He had the best of his entire career, of Xander Schauffele's entire career, his best performance with his irons.
It was the best approach performance of the year 2025 by any golfer in the world.
That's our most recent major champion, who we have seen nothing from because of injury. And he comes into this championship now, I think, with like something to build on. This is the thing for Xander that this is going to come down to is his touch, his short game and his putting. He's been so well-rounded in those areas. In Florida, he was not very good around the greens. He was not very good on the greens. Usually when you're thinking of an injury, I'm worried about what's going to happen tee to green. That's not an issue. The issue is, can he get his short game sharp enough. And if he does, he's a real factor here, a very real factor, with Scottie not seeming to be 100%. Although, like Mark said, he's trending to it. Rory McIlroy with his issues here, Xander Schauffele fits that mold perfectly. It's fascinating.
I would, what, along those lines, Greg, the times I watched him play in Florida, you say he was bad on the greens. He was bad everywhere. And when he missed fairways, he had gone to this fade shot with Chris Como because he naturally draws the golf ball. And I saw one too many hook shots, man. Down the Arnold Palmer event, he hooked it in the water a few times on some of those par fours there. But then he irons the stuff out, and he does what he did at the Valspar you speak of. And there's this, like Rory and Scottie, they're going to get there. Everyone is expecting. It's this expectation, right? And everyone's got the spotlight on you. I feel like for a two-time major champion, just last year, it's not like it's eons ago, Xander is coming into this thing with zero spotlight or attention on him. And that is liberating in a way. So for a guy who's played into some form, who knows what it feels like, because majors just hit differently, especially the first one of the year. I think he's coming in with this like glorious freedom about him to say, well, no one's paying attention to Xander Schauffele right now. And that could be an arrow in his quiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, certainly some great players right behind. If you are watching us on the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, this is a simulcast. Not every episode will be here. Go to the Second Cut podcast channel. Make sure you're subscribed there. If you are watching us on the Second Cut and you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. That would be fairly shameful of you. Let's talk about a couple of more golfers here. And this might look a little bit familiar, but just a little bit different, gentlemen, because I have got the grid available for this week. Now, it's clearly Sunday. These would normally be happening on Tuesday, and they'll start happening on Tuesday for the Heritage. So we don't have the matchup options yet, but what we've got here are finishing positions, a couple of outrights, an opportunity for us to discuss more players. Now, we'll start with the finishing positions here. And Greg, I want you to talk us through who you chose for your top 20 at the Masters.
Robert McIntyre, who I found for a top 20 at plus 140. Now, I really like this number. They call him Big Shot Bob. They call him Big Shot Bob for a reason. He steps up in big time events. And what I'm noticing here is he played in Europe in March at the Singapore Classic, came in tied 9th. He came in 9th at the Players Championship and tied 11th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He did miss the cut at the Genesis, but tied 6th at the WM Phoenix Open. His iron play has been really strong. He's gained over a shot and a half in 3 out of the last 4 events. His driving has been spectacular this season. Sometimes I worry he gets a little loose off the tee. It hasn't happened since the Tour Championship. He's been striping it off the tee. His short game has been stout. His putting has been stout. I'm loving where Robert McIntyre is with his game right now. And you want to take a look at his record here? A tied 12th and a 23rd. Pretty darn good here too.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. Corey Connors is my top 20 at plus 190. He's been unbelievable the last month or so. He has a way of putting pretty well at Augusta National. And if there's any way I'm going to deploy Corey Connors, it's not going to be the outright market. It's not going to be the top 5 market. The top 20 market feels just about nice in a 96 person field. And Mark, you almost switched this one out on us. You gave us your pick. Then you gave us an honorable mention, but you said, I'm going to stick with my original pick. What was the original pick?
Well, speaking of honorable mentions, can we give Mina a round of applause for these graphics? Because this
she's rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My name has a crown on it.
That's right.
It's because I'm the old guy. Tom Hoagie, top 40 plus 110. The guy's just a ball striking machine. Everybody knows this. I feel like he will do enough to get inside the top 40 at plus 110. But as I was looking around on the list a little bit, Jason Day jumped out to me as well. Now, he's not getting the love that he should, but whenever I've caught up with him here recently, he's connected with his old coach, Colin Swatton. So some of the real technicality of the golf swing stuff that he was getting into is becoming more athletic. They spent a lot of time identifying a couple issues in the putter with the putter. And so as a result, here's a guy, Jay Day, who's got a wonderful record around Augusta National, who now feels way more comfortable with a putter in his hand, because previously all the results were all a function of the ball striking. So with Jay Day now back with his old coach, putting well at a great golf course, yeah, I feel like the Aussie does the trick. And this line on him, I just got to look real fast. Top 30 plus 100. I was like, yeah, I'd love to go for Jason Day in that as well.
Yeah, even money for Jay Day. That gets the honorable mention from Mark Tom Hoagie, top 40 as well at plus 110. You will see the graphics are dangerous. There are no rules here. You're going to see some weird stuff, and it might be good, it might be bad, but we are taking chances on the second cut. There's going to be some weird things here. A couple of outright winners, please. Why don't you? I'm going to bounce this back to you, Mark, here. We've talked about one of your outrights at length, but we haven't really gotten into the other one. So let's round out your card here.
Okay, first off, you got to take some chances from the second cut at Augusta National this week, because remember, that's what the other cut of grass is called if you're missing the fairway. So, yeah, you got to take a few chances. So I love the graphics. Yeah, so if you're wanting my other one, that's not the obvious one, given the way I've been glowing, I just think it's about time for Colin Morikawa to roll around a little bit too. He's been striking it great for a while. He's got a lot of confidence in what he's doing. But for me, with Morikawa at plus 1,600, the record around you is super. He's been close to the lead a few times. It's just, can he get around the putter? Because with conditions, if I'm expecting them to be receptive for the rest of the week, unless we have, some really gusty winds that get up, because it's not going to be very warm, it's going to be a bit of a scoring fest. So in other words, you're going to have to make your share of putts. Colin's playing great. I just question the putter, but at plus 1,600 with a record around you and the way he's playing, I just love the number.
16-1 for Colin Morikawa. The obvious one that Mark was alluding to there was Rory McIlroy, 6.5-1. He is, I think Mark has picked him to win 17 years in a row. Is that about right, Mark?
This is the year. Yeah. But on that previous show, remember the other cut? I picked him to win this, win the previews, and you guys told me I was crazy. But you do that all the time, so I've got to just keep the pedal down to the metal, don't I?
Yes, I love it. Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa. I've already made the bet on Xander Schauffele. I've done it. Greg hit the nail on the head. I've got this large write-up coming in my newsletter for this week. He's an unbelievable major champion player. He had one of the most historic major championship years in 2024. He is rounding back into form, doing things that no one else in the game has done yet. I've already bet it 22-1. And then I'm a sucker who cannot quit Patrick Cantlay. So I bet him at 35-1. If he could make 4-foot putts, he'd be running away with the Valero Texas Open right now by about 100 shots. I'm just going to try one more time. Greg, your card, please.
Well, I like everything you guys said. There's one problem, and they're all wrong.
Oh, good.
I ran the numbers. I figured out who is going to win this tournament. I'll tell you how I did this. The last 6 winners have all of these things in common. Okay, they have more than one top 20 in the last 3 Masters, more than one. They have one or more top 13s in their last 3 majors. They've gained strokes approaching the green in 2 of the last 3. They've gained 3 or more strokes approaching the green in 1 of their last 4 events. They've gained strokes around the green in their last 3 events leading in, and they've gained strokes putting in 1.5. They've gained 1.5 strokes putting or more in 1 of the 3 events previous. Okay, so you have to hit all of those criteria in order to win. There are only 2 players who do, Shane Lowry and Jon Rahm. I was very surprised.
Well, there you go.
Now, I put Jon Rahm on there. You can find this. I wrote up a whole thread on this. So if you want to jump over on Twitter, I'm at The Real GFD. You can read it and see how this all whittles down. But the last one I threw in there was the last 6 winners were not on live in the year of their win. So that gives it to Shane Lowry. He's our Masters champion this year.
Wow.
I ran the numbers don't lie. So it's Lowry.
Well, Rick, just one thing, because I know you guys are going to get onto another commitment, but I want to do this because, we fan forward over here to sound like the PGA Tour. There are lots of live questions, Greg, so I want to know from you because I honestly don't know enough about it. I've been all PGA toured out for the last few weeks here. A lot of folks, speaking of, players that have won majors, that putt great and all sort of thing, where do you feel on Cam Smith as we head into these Masters?
So a couple weeks ago, I did a seeding. I seeded all the analysis. Yes, total. This was just fun opinion bit. My personal opinion. No numbers involved. I seeded 64 guys for the Masters. I put Cam Smith as a 2 seed, and the people were not happy about it. So he hasn't been playing great on live. The hard thing for me, Mark, is I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means to play well or not play well on live. And when Cam Smith comes to Augusta National, this is the reason why I gave him a 2 seed. He probably should have been a 3 or 4 seed in hindsight. You're talking about 4 or 5 top 10s here. He was tied 6th last year. In 22, he came in 3rd, tied 10th in 21, tied 2nd in 2020, tied 5th in 2018. People forget that. So I think this golf course brings out something special in him. So whatever you've seen from him lately, which hasn't been much, I would expect an uptick in performance.
This golf course lets you hit the ball wildly off the tee. It's Bob Jones' ode to the old course, which is all about angles. If you're prepared to play aggressively, you get a better angle. If you miss a fairway, you can still get to the green, but you've got to hit a quality iron shot. And that's essentially Cameron Smith to me. He's not that accurate off the tee. He's a decent iron player. He's phenomenal with a putter and a wedge in hand. So, yeah, it plays right into his skill set as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's been awesome here. Just finished T9 at Doral. So that is Xander Schauffele, Patrick Cantlay, Shane Lowry, Jon Rahm, Rory McIlroy, or Colin Morikawa. I absolutely guarantee that one of them will win the Masters next week. Mark, we are going to part ways with you here. So we are going to let you get out of here. Greg and I are going to circle back to some fantasy stuff because we didn't have a Monday and a Tuesday show. I've got more graphics that will allow us to talk about more golfers, but I'm not going to make you sit through the fantasy stuff. So Mark, safe travels. I will see you in Augusta in a couple of days.
Heck yes. Bring your green stuff. Second cut forever. I love you guys. Take care.
He's the best, isn't he? The best. All right, Gregors, you and I, believe it or not, have to be on live TV at the conclusion of this golf tournament, and they are teeing off on 18. So we are going to get down to business right now. What I have asked you to do is to give me your golfer of the week. This is the guy that you cannot live without. I don't care about, pricing or what it's the guy that you cannot live without. We have already heard who it is, but I made up this beautiful graphic, so I'm going to show you. It's Shane Lowry.
It's Shane Lowry. I love the way, it's a fun exercise, what I went through there, but what really sticks out to me with Shane Lowry is his ability with his iron play to be so elite. And what he's done lately is just pile up greens of regulation, pile up strokes gained on the field with his iron play. And it's lasted for a really long time. So I love that. I love his recent form. I love his performance at Augusta National in the past. Aside from last year, he had 4 straight top 25s, including a tied 3rd. So he seems to check a lot of the boxes for me.
I love that. And then for our fantasy portion of this, the way that we have always constructed this is we've always looked at, the DraftKings salaries. We've worked our way down from the 10K range down to the 6K range. And we've often just picked out 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 golfers that we think are interesting, that we think are maybe a little bit mispriced, that we think could have a really good chance of contending at the tournament. Of course, this week is the Masters and it's Augusta National. So Greg, I asked you to put together 2 golfers, or at least a couple of golfers from the 10K range. And this is what you gave me.
Yep. I still love Scottie Scheffler and his performance. John Rahm, I like I said, I have a hard time assessing what happens on Live, but it seems like his game is in good order, and his performances in majors has been very strong, especially the Open Championship last year. If you had any questions about his ability leading in, it was certainly understandable, but he answered some for me with the 7th place finish at the Open last year, and I think you're going to see a different John Rahm this year in the majors.
That is John Rahm and Scottie Scheffler in the 10K range. The 9s, those are still superstars. And Greg, we align pretty evenly on these two.
Yeah, Xander and Jordan. Jordan feels a little more risky, but what Jordan Spieth has, Rick, is there's a lot of ceiling performances, a lot of really high-end putting performances, and 2 of his 12 best career performances approaching the green have come in 2025. I think there's a ceiling that is accessible for him in reach, and Augusta National seems to bring those things out for him.
He just finished T12 at the Valero Texas Open, thanks to a Sunday 72. That was even par a day. That was quite difficult in terms of scoring. We move on to the 8s, and to present the 8K range is this robot, Greg.
Yes, Shane Lowry. Well, because the robot said Shane Lowry is going to win.
Shane Lowry.
Russell Henley, who I can't get enough of on difficult golf courses. He checks all the boxes. He's accurate off the tee. It doesn't matter here, but he's going to put it in position off the tee. His approach play is elite. I think he's turned into a complete player. So I love Henley. And McIntyre, like we said earlier with the betting graphic, he certainly makes a ton of sense to me with a well-rounded game, a good record at Augusta, a good record in majors. I love Bobby Mack.
Yeah, the Henley stuff is really interesting because he models so well. And I was scrolling through the odds earlier this morning. He's 50-1. He's right there with kind of Minwoo Lee. Also, Robert McIntyre is 15-1. Or 50-1, excuse me. It's the same as Cam Smith. And I stared at that Russell Henley name for a long time. He's been great at majors. He's been good at Augusta. Like, I was like, man, he could win this thing.
Yeah, I know. You might think, well, he's going to play well, but he's not going to win. Right. I've had that thought. But he wins at Bay Hill this year. Like, that's a big time golf course. And he got the job done there. So I think he's a real contender this week.
The 7s, and you've got to remember that the pricing obviously comes out quite early for the Masters. So it does not account for the way that they played this week. Patrick Reed's on your list, Corey Connors on your list, not to spoil the party here, but this is both those guys played fairly well this week in their respective events. Here are the 3 that you've narrowed it down for the 7s.
Yeah, Connors, Straka, and Reed. Looking at Sepp Straka, he's played so well this year. I don't want to back away now. This is the kind of profile of a guy that makes a real run. And he's very similar to Russell Henley in style. So why would I go with Henley and not with Straka? Corey Connors, Rick, I know you love him this week. He's been spectacular all the way across the board, which is, it's so well-rounded. I love what I'm seeing there, so I can't get away from it. Patrick Reed's record at Augusta National is just, it's good. He's like a surprisingly safe play. A gritty competitor. He does it on short game. He's probably not going to win, but I think he could give you a solid, top 12 finish.
We've had the shot-by-shot data available since 2019, so we can do the strokes gained since then. He's one of the best putters at Augusta National in those 6 years. That does not include his victory. So the shot tracking came the year after his win. So you got to assume he probably putted pretty well en route to a green jacket. He had a runner-up finish in, I think it was Macau on the Asian Tour just a couple of weeks ago. He's played a lot of golf this year. He's played a lot of good golf this year. So Patrick, and that includes this week. He just finished, I just had the Live leaderboard up here. T7. Started out really hot. The course got harder over the course of the final 2 days. He finished T7 at Doral. And that leaves us with the cheapos, Greg. The guys that you want to invest in the 6K range are whom, please?
Yeah, this is 6K is tough in this because, you got this question. Do you go with guys with experience or do you go with guys who are playing really well? Well, JJ Spawn checks both of those boxes for me because he's played once before here and he played pretty well. That was in 2022. He came in 23rd. So I think his game can hold up. I love what he's done with his iron play. His tee to green play has been spectacular. And he missed the cut in Houston, which I think quelled some of the Players' Championship disappointment. So he's going to step up and have a big week. Taylor Pendrith is a rookie, which I don't like, but his game is so solid. He's got so much distance and power. I think, and his iron play is really strong too. His putting's really strong. I worry about his short game a little bit, but I think Taylor Pendrith could put himself up inside the top 25 this week. And Denny McCarthy has been very impressive to me with his iron play. I liked him this week heading into the Valero Texas Open. And the reason for that was it's like 4 events in a row where he's gained strokes approaching the green. And when Denny McCarthy starts hitting the ball well, he's someone to really watch out for. And he's having a pretty nice week down there in San Antonio too.
And I'm sure we've talked about this before, but Denny goes on these little runs. 4 or 5 good weeks in a row, 4 or 5 kind of bad weeks in a row, 4 or 5. And it's just like when he's in one of them, he's very, very, very dangerous, which is fun.
It's really fun. And again, in the 6K, not everybody's going to be a big hitter near the top of that leaderboard. A guy like Denny could get himself in the mix.
As much as I would love to do this for the next 2 hours, we've probably got to cut this right now, considering you and I have prior obligations. We're going to be on live television here in just a couple of minutes. The good news is this, Greg. The next week or so, you're going to hear you're going to hear our voices a lot. You're going to see our faces a lot, but the second cut will be back the Tuesday of the RBC Heritage. And that is when we will kick off our Tuesday, Friday, Sunday cadence for what I'm assuming is going to be the rest of all time.
Yes, at least.
Right. Do you know when that comet that has like a 3% chance, or like that asteroid that has like a 3% chance to hit Earth in 50 years?
Yes.
We'll survive that, and the second cut will still be going on.
Well, we had a lot of things from our old show that were very long-term, predictions.
Yeah.
We had some wine bets. We got a lot of things that we have to check on, if you will. So we'll be here.
These are unresolved wine bets that we have to figure out. So we will absolutely be back again. If you're watching on Rick Run Good, this is a simulcast. Go over to the second cut and make sure you subscribe. There is a Patreon in which you are by no means obligated to support financially, but if you want to and get access to some pretty cool stuff, it is available for you. Everything that you need is in the link in the description. Big thanks to producer Mina on the 1s and 2s. She's rocking it back there. For Mark Immelman, for Greg DuCharme, I'm Rick Gehman. This has been The Second Cut. We'll catch you next time.